What's going on, man? Patrick James here, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to tell stories that get girls. Cue the intro. Okay. So this video idea actually comes from my man Francisco Vasquez, who asked this question in the YouTube comments of one of my videos. By the way, if you guys ever have questions in the future or even today, leave a comment below. I read all of the comments that I get, and I definitely make a point to answer the ones that I really like, the questions that I really like. So leave a comment or a question below if you have any, and if you like my answers, give me a thumbs up. That way I'm more encouraged to keep making these Q&A videos in the future. So that said, how do you tell a story that actually gets girls? Well, I got 3 quick tips because I want to make this a quick video for you that's instantly gonna not only help you start connecting with girls in more of a memorable way to where, you know, if she's losing interest after that first time you meet her, it's probably because you didn't create that unique connection. You didn't make yourself memorable in that interaction with her. And if you've struggled with that in the past, then learning these story tactics that I'm about to tell you is definitely going to help. All right, so a lot of guys, they know the banter, attraction, sparking techniques type of things, a lot of the stuff that I talk about on this YouTube channel. But what you got to realize is that when you're bantering with a girl, when you're sparking attraction, that's just a spice in the dish, right? And it's also something that you gotta build a foundation of the interaction upon early on. But eventually, after a few minutes, you have to start connecting with her as a person to person, as a man to a woman. And the easiest way to do that is by telling a story of your own. All right, so here's 3 quick tips about telling those stories that's actually going to not only spike her attraction, but also boost your guys' rapport and connection with each other. So the first one is, like I already said, use it as a way to transition from like light, surface level banter and attraction sparking conversation to a more connection type of conversation. All right, so if I meet a girl in a cold approach type situation, or even if I get introduced to her, oftentimes like the first few minutes are going to be light, surface level. I'm gonna be teasing her, I'm gonna be breaking the touch barrier, I'm gonna be pushing, I'm gonna be pulling, I'm gonna be doing all these things to just show that I'm a guy who's light, carefree, nonchalant, doesn't really give a f and says what I want, and I am not afraid to spark attraction along the way. However, for me to actually seduce this woman, either that night or in the near future, I have to transition in an attractive way. So oftentimes, this is how it might go. Maybe she tells me she's from Texas, and then I go, oh dude, that's awesome. I've actually only been to Texas about 3 times, but that reminds me, when I was a freshman in college, I was like really awkward around girls, and for whatever reason, this girl, I met her at a party, and she lived in Dallas, Texas, but she was just partying in my at my school in Kansas, and she invited me to go down to Dallas and just like stay at her house with her family and like hang out for the weekend. We went to 6 Flags in Dallas, and it was actually pretty dope, but I went down with the intention of like trying to sleep with her, and at the time I was actually a virgin, and I went down with the intention to lose my virginity, have sex with this girl, and create an awesome relationship with this hot girl who lives in Dallas, Texas. However, I drove 9 hours down to Dallas just to get friend-zoned hardcore. It was like the most soul-crushing experience I've ever had up to that point in my life. So tell me, have you ever been friend-zoned by someone? Alright, so that was an example of a story of me going down to Dallas, Texas. And by the way, that was a completely true story, but you can see how I used it from like interview style questions to where we were talking about where she's from, and then I transitioned to saying, oh, that reminds me, and I went into a story of my own. So that's the first tip I have for you. The second tip is always embed your stories in pre-selection. All right, so that last one was kind of sort of embedded in pre-selection because it not only was like funny and self-deprecating, and by the way, who can tell self-deprecating stories in a light, nonchalant kind of way? Guys who don't have anything to prove, right? So self-deprecation is actually a pretty good thing for you sparking attraction in a very indirect way. Not being too self-deprecating, but just enough. So that was a good self-deprecating story of my own that had pre-selection embedded into it. So pre-selection just basically shows that other girls like me and want to be around me, therefore they will conclude that I'm an attractive person. That's how pre-selection works. So in that story, I not only embedded the fact that I was hanging out with girls and meeting girls at parties, but I also embedded some self-deprecation. Both of those things are good for sparking pre-selection. So make sure, like, whenever you're telling a story to a girl, you're mentioning the fact that there was other girls there. You're mentioning the fact that you were interacting with other girls. You're mentioning the fact that other girls were attracted to you. And here's like a little pro tip. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell thing. Sometimes you can make up the fact that there was a girl there who was pursuing you sexually and attractively. All right. So if you want to just make your stories just a little bit more attractive to girls, literally just like throw in a side note, an anecdote that there was a girl who was like chasing you and it was really off-putting because you're not really used to being treated like a piece of meat. But anyways, on with the story, right? Little anecdotes like that, whether they're true or not, make your stories much more attractive. And they're also self-entertaining, which conveys a lot of good things about yourself. So that's the second tip I have about telling stories that get girls. And the third tip I have about how to tell stories in an attractive way that's actually gonna get the girl is this: always make it emotionally relevant to her. So from my first story that I told about going down to Dallas, Texas, trying to lose my virginity, I drove 9 hours down there from Kansas just to get epically friend zoned when I was 19 years old. In that story at the end, if you didn't notice this, I asked a question to bring it back to them, right? Because, you know, we love to talk about ourselves all day. I like to talk about myself. You love to talk about yourself. Let's all just talk about ourselves, right? But if you don't ever involve them, right? If I was talking to you and you just kept talking about yourself the whole time, I would lose interest. I would tune you out. I would probably go find someone else to talk to because I want to talk about myself, okay? So at the end of your stories, all you have to do is, like, especially if you're talking about yourself and it's a story about yourself, all you have to do is ask her a question to bring it back on her. So in my original example, I told a story about me getting friend zoned. At the end, I asked, so have you ever been friend zoned by a guy that you liked? Right? I can do that with any story, right? If I told you a story about the first time I went to Hollywood, California, and everybody was wearing leather jackets and I wasn't, and it was really kind of like awesome because I never experienced a culture like that, right? I can ask them, so have you ever been to California? Have you ever worn a leather jacket? Have you ever been in a place where you felt like you were the one person who stuck out so much, right? I can ask any question. It doesn't really matter what I ask as long as I'm bringing the story back to them. So I hope that makes sense, man. Those are 3 quick tips about telling stories that actually get girls. On that note, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to be notified the next time I upload a video, turn on that notification bell. And when you do, leave a comment down below and I will give you a shout out in my next video. On that note, I will see you in the next video. Peace out. What's going on, man? Patrick James here, and I wanted to take a quick second out of my day, and I wanted to tell you really quickly about what I'm gonna be doing on November 4th through 6th. That weekend, I'm gonna be in Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City, all right? The city where whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and I'm gonna be teaming up with my good friend, Adam Galad, for something that we're calling the Weekend of 1,000 Approaches. Now, if you've been reading my emails over the last couple days, you know we've been talking a lot about how to approach women, what to say when you approach girls, how not to approach girls, and all the different things that go into it. Well, that weekend, we're actually gonna be diving deep into the art and science of approaching women and attracting them and leading that conversation, that interaction to a place where you and her could potentially be hooking up, developing an awesome, lasting relationship, those sorts of things. And what better city to practice this in than in Las Vegas, Nevada, where all the girls are there to meet guys anyways. So here's how the weekend is gonna basically play out. It's gonna be a 3-day weekend event, and the first part of each day, we are going to be getting up in front of you, and we're gonna be teaching you everything that we know about approaching, attracting, and hooking up with awesome women, all right? And then the second part of the day, we're gonna be actually taking you out into the field and being your personal wingman. Imagine standing right next to me, Patrick James, or even my good friend Adam Galad, with us as your personal wingman, talking to the same girls as you, talking to the friends of the girls that you're trying to hook up with, and giving you the inside track that most guys never have when they approach girls. Imagine how many guys don't get to hang out with and approach women with someone like me, with someone who has good game, with someone whose only purpose is to make sure that you have success with the girl that you just approached. So why are we calling it the weekend of 1,000 approaches? Well, between the 30 guys that are gonna be there, our goal is to have 1,000 of the women on the Las Vegas Strip approached by those 30 guys. We want you to walk away from this weekend as a fucking pro at meeting, seducing, and dating these women, short term, long term, one night, whatever it may be that you're trying to accomplish, all right? So if you want to check out all the details about this weekend, what it's going to involve, a little bit more of what you're going to learn, and how you can grab one of those 30 spots, click the link below, and it's gonna take you to a page with all those details that you wanna know. Click that link below, check out the weekend of 1,000 approaches, and I strongly, strongly recommend that you make it out there if you've had any interest in the material that we've been talking about on the newsletter over the past couple days. On that note, see you there.